How's it going, guys? It's Nathan from Nathan's DIY Garage, and today we're going to do a complete removal and installation of a thermostat on a BMW E39. Okay, so we had this 530 back in here. This is sold to a guy in the town next to us. I fixed the valve cover on this car a while back. Where I fixed it wasn't leaking, but it was dripping back further, and it had a little tiny crack in the very back, and it was dripping into the spark plug hole. And then every once in a while it dripped one drop down the manifold, and you could smell it inside the car, especially after it's set for a few days. So I went ahead and had another valve cover here that's not cracked. We switched it out. That problem is permanently taken care of. There's a couple things we need to address to this car. I had a couple error codes that are a little bit concerning. I had one for the thermostat, for a thermostat locked open. Now this thermostat is brand new. I just put this on here. This was an eBay thermostat. The car doesn't overheat. It runs fine. I did notice when you turn it off after you run it, it has a couple little drips come out of the cap, like from the vent. So even though it doesn't get hot on the gauge, I'm thinking it's right at the edge of having a problem. If the thermostat's not open and closing, it's eventually going to run too hot. If it can't close off the water going to the radiator and cool it, pop back open, exchange the water and regulate, you're going to have problems. So what we're going to do today, we're going to go ahead and change this. I think we might do two. We might go ahead and take the single hose conversion off. That works really good, but I did notice it has some condensation up here around the tube where it goes in the valve cover, and there is some condensation and crap in this. This works fine. It does make the engine re-burn the vapors from the engine itself, from the crankcase. This car sits around more than anything, so I'm gonna go ahead and put a catch can on this so that catch can actually catches the vapors. Like I said, it was getting a little bit of crap around the nozzle here, and it also had a code for the IAC. Now I took this apart and cleaned it, but I kind of wonder if the IAC is getting dirty already because of single hose conversion. So that's what we're going to do with this car. Hopefully get this thing where it's completely good for this guy. The real nice family I sold this to, we want to make sure everything is tip-top for them. Okay guys, so we started off by breaking the fan loose. Now I use these eBay wrenches. They're about 20 bucks. They're kind of cheap. They barely work, but they work. So break it loose. The fan is reverse thread. We're just going to spin it off, and it's going to fall down the shroud. Just like that. So it'll look like that. There's two clips. There's one here and one here. You just pop those out. Usually use a pair of wire cutters. Grip them, get behind them, just pop them loose. And we're going to go ahead and pull out. Let me make sure I got you in the shot here. Yeah, we're going to go and pull out the air bleed screw right here. And I've done this in past videos, the shroud removal, but a lot of you guys may not have seen that. We're going to go ahead and get a straight screwdriver under it, and don't use a Phillips to take the air bleed screws out. Use a straight. The bigger the straight, the better. Less chance of stripping that plastic screw out. We're going to go ahead and work this up real carefully and pop it out. And that holds the bottle to the shroud. So we're going to go ahead and break the bottle loose. We're going to put this guy up here out of the way. We're going to push the bottle back. We're going to put the screw back in the bottle. Just like that. I'm going to tighten him up. We don't want the bottle leaking over the place. We're removing it. And there is a clamp. Let me grab you guys off the stand here. There is a clamp right behind here. You can see it. And you have to get a screwdriver, or you can use a little socket too, a 1/4" dry socket. You can screw it out like this. Now, if this has never been taken apart, which some of these cars haven't, it's pretty scary. This will have a permanent clamp. You will have to take a pair of wire cutters and snip it off and put a actually usable hose clamp on it. So once you loosen the clamp up, we'll go a little bit looser here, and you're going to take it, the screwdriver back in here. You're going to pry ever so gently, and that's going to slip it off. See if I could do it one-handed. It's going to slip it off that nipple. Now what you want to do next is go in here and grab the clamp and go ahead and remove the clamp before it falls down inside the car. Almost lost it, but we got her. I'm going to pull that out. I'll put that up here in the strut tire for safekeeping, and we're going to go ahead and try to work this shroud out. Okay, so to get the shroud out, you're first going to pick it up just a little bit. Be careful where you grab. You don't want to snap anything off on it. You're going to pick it up a little bit like this, and you're going to try to work the bottle out of its holders. And we'll go and pick the fan up out of there at this point. We'll put that up here, and go ahead and do that. And don't let the bottle sit down yet, because the hose is still unplugged from it. You're going to go ahead and slip it up like this, and as you're picking it up, you're going to be unhooking these hoses that go in the bottom of the shroud. You just go in here and pop them out of all the holders. Okay. And if the pump's never been out, there might be a screw holding the pump in the shroud. Maybe, maybe not. This one is not. And we're just going to slowly lift this bottle out. And you can see when I picked it up a little too far that the hose started leaking coolant. I'll set that off to the side, hold your thumb over the hose, and we'll finish working the shroud out. This one's actually being quite the pain in the butt. Okay, so that's all done, and we're free. So as you can see here, all these little hangers on the bottom of the shroud, and on the cars that are up here so you can see it, the 99 and up cars have the extra little holder here for the secondary water pump. If they've never been taken apart, they usually have a screw in it, a little torque screw. You just unclamp all that stuff and pull it out. We'll set it off to the side so we don't break it. And you can also see your little rubber trim that holds the shroud in. We'll set him back up there, and in my left hand I have the hose. What we're going to do here, we're going to go ahead and just snap this back on, not put the clamp on it, and we're just going to kind of set him down here out of the way. And he can just kind of dangle right there. He's not going to hurt anything. So at this point in time, we have full access to the thermostat. And go ahead and bring you in here a little bit closer. You can see it or not. Okay, so right there's the thermostat, and we're gonna start off before we take anything else off. We need to undo these clamps. Now you can drain this out. You don't lose a ton of water. You probably lose a couple quarts of coolant by just popping this off. So we're gonna go ahead and pop the first snap clip off. Now this is only for 99 and up E39. So 99 to 03 has push lock clamps. The was it 96 to 90, late 98, early 99 will actually have hose clamps here. So we pop that open. We're gonna take a screwdriver and we're just gonna barely work that off. Let's see if I could even do it. Might just be able to pull this one off. Yeah. And you just work it off like that. You're gonna lose some coolant, that's fine. You're gonna go and do the same thing to the other side. You're gonna pop the clamp loose but leave it on. You're gonna go ahead and pull this guy here off. A lot of times I'll take the screwdriver and I'll just kind of tap it down, put it only on the outer edge, and that'll pop it off like that. If you're careful with these, I'll put that up so we don't lose all the coolant out of the hose. If you're careful with these, you won't have a problem with them. Stick that up there. So now we're gonna go ahead and unplug the thermostat sensor, which is right here. Let them lay loose. So at this point in time we have a 13 bolt and we have, I think, 3 10s. I'm gonna go ahead and get something to take those off with. Okay, so let's go ahead and get this pulled. Start off by taking the 10s off. And all these are torqued. I always put them in 10 foot-pounds. Like I said, on everything else, all the 10mm bolts, they call for 7. By the time you put a little extension or adapter on your torque wrench, you're going to end up about 7 if you set it to 10. You're going to lose some torque through those adapters and whatever have you. Okay, so that guy's out. There's one. There should be one right below it. Sorry if I look all sweaty. I am. It's almost 100 degrees today and really, really high humidity. So it's pretty tough doing anything out of the AC. Okay, so two. Another one is right here. Alright, three. We're going to switch to the extension and a 13 mil. We're going to take out the last bolt from the housing. Alright. And we're going to go ahead and pull the housing off. Should come off real easy. And so here it is. There's nothing stuck in it. It actually looks perfect. So I'm not sure. Like I said, it is brand new. So it's probably going to have a problem from the factory. So I don't know. Well, let's go ahead and replace it. We're not going to take any chances. This will melt this car down if this thing malfunctions. And we might go ahead and contact the eBay seller. I'm sure he don't care. But see if he can't send us a free one. Okay, so what we're going to have to do here is we need to go ahead and take a piece of Scotch-Brite and we need to clean the gasket surface. And you can see how it's dripping out of there. That's not going to work. We're going to have to shake the car a little bit and try to get that to stop dripping. Take a rag, wipe it all dry, and at that point we're going to reinstall our new thermostat. But before we do, we're going to use a little bit of Mega Gray. We're just going to wipe a real thin layer on it. So let me go and get this thing cleaned up, get it to stop dripping, and we're going to go ahead and get it done. Okay, so here we are. We went in and smeared a thin layer on it. We're going to go ahead and just, for good time's sake, wipe it one more time. We've already cleaned it. It's already dry. Should be good to go. Pull that wire up. We'll go ahead and stick that back in there like that and try to somewhat line the holes up, and we'll start putting bolts back in it. So what we're going to want to do is barely snug them up first round here, and we're just going to go and reassemble the 3 10mm bolts. There's really no specific order to do this, and you can do it whatever order you want. But you never want to tighten up one bolt and then try to put the other ones in. It's not going to work out. They're not going to want to start. Okay. I'll put the other two in. What we're going to do, we're going to take the ratchet, and you may not have a torque wrench that goes down this low. I think the one I have is from Harbor Freight. It was $11. If you don't have one, probably hard to get one. If you're going to be doing stuff like this, a 3/8 or even a 1/4 inch drive is what you need, not a 1/2 inch, because you'll be running adapters constantly. So we're just going to barely snug them up. You could easily go too far and get it past the recommended torque. The same with the 13 here. Okay, so let me grab the torque wrench. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and use our trusty little torque wrench. This is a 3/8 drive torque wrench. We're going to have to use an extension. So like I said, let's go ahead and set it at 10. We're going to go in here like this. We're just going to re-torque these. Oh, my bad. I already messed it up. Okay, let's do the 13 first. Okay, right there it clicked. We're going to do the 10s. Until they click. You guys can't hear that click on the camera, but I could feel it click. Okay, we're going to go back and do the 10s one more time. And make sure that nothing loosened up. A lot of times it'll happen when you torque the other ones, it'll make the other ones get looser. So you usually got to do it twice. Go back to the 13, make sure he's still tight. And it is. And there you go. So your thermostat is installed. Now let's go ahead and start doing reassembly. We're going to start off the very first thing by plugging the sensor back in, make sure it's snapped in. We'll just go ahead and reassemble these guys here. And usually I put some WD-40 on these. These probably don't have to. These all look really good. I'll go ahead and put him back on. And make sure that clip is snapped in the slot. If not, it'll blow off and blow your motor up. So you should do it like this. Like that, and you should be able to hear a good audible click. So that's all reinstalled, so we're done with that. All we have to do at this point in time is get our tools out of the way here, and we need to go ahead and get our fan shroud put back in. Okay, so let's go ahead and do our fan shroud. We're gonna get them set up here like this. First thing we're gonna do is pull the coolant bottle back up. We're just gonna kind of unplug this guy and set him back up there. So he's gonna sit there. We're gonna have to let a little bit of coolant out of that. It's gonna spill everywhere if we don't. And we're going to have to go ahead and we just want to barely start this thing. And while we're barely starting it, we're gonna want to pull up. Pull these up first. Pull up these hoses, and while we're doing that, we're going to slip the pump in first. And it's a real pain in the ass, especially if this is the first time you guys ever done this. And the hose of the pump, if I remember right, goes on the top holders like that. Okay, and then the hose that doesn't have the pump on it is going to clip in the bottom holders. There's two sets of them. Clip in like that. Okay. And go and hold the bottle up. Got everything a little bit too tight. It takes some patience for sure. We're just gonna ever so gently start working this thing back down in here. And as we're doing so, that secondary water pump's gonna pivot up. Okay. Keep on working it in. Take a little finessing to get it past all the hoses. Try to make sure you're nice and centered. And if any point in time, if you try to handle this shroud just a little bit too hard, you're going to snap it in half. Okay. So there's that. So now at this point in time, the bottle is just hanging loose, right? Make sure you can see that. The bottle's hanging loose. Okay, so we have the hose is still under here. We're going to pull it up a little bit. We'll go ahead and stick our hose clamp back on our hose real carefully. I hear a big helicopter coming, so let me go ahead and stop this. Okay, so when it stopped it, let the chopper go by. When it stuck the hose clamp on here, I'll get you over here where you can see a little bit better. Okay, so we stuck the hose clamp on the hose. And this is kind of tricky. We're going to want to try to fish that hose so it pushes on that nipple. Now I've already forgot to do something here. We got to take the bleed screw out. At any point in time you bend this too hard, it's going to snap it off and you're going to be in trouble. Let's go and take this guy out, put him up here out of the way, and we're going to go ahead and slide this hose on just like that. You want to make sure it's pushed all the way on it. Once it's pushed all the way on it, you're going to take your screwdriver or your socket, wherever you usually get this thing off of here with. You're going to go ahead and tighten it up. Now you want the clamp pointed this way, pointed back, so you get your screwdriver in here and get it. You don't want to point it the wrong way, then it's really hard to get it off or on. You don't have to go crazy tight, but you need to be tight enough where you don't strip it, but tight enough where it don't leak. Okay, so there we go with that. Now before you can do anything else, you got to grab your fan, and you're going to want to drop your fan back in. So we're going to pick your shroud up. You want to slip your fan back in like so, and just let it set down in the shroud. Now you want to make sure your shroud's locked in. You look down here on the sides, there's 4 little notches it sets in. Make sure all the little tabs are locked in. This one is ever so slightly out. There we go. And you know you're in if your holes for your clips line up, and these are lined up. So what we're going to do next, before we even put this together, we're going to go ahead and spin the fan back on. What we're going to do, remember this is reverse threads. So lefty tighten, righty loosey. Sometimes I can get these things the first run so easy, sometimes they're a freaking nightmare. And you can take your wrench and try to start it. You gotta be real careful doing that though, because you can easily strip that, and that you do not want to do. It's an easy system doing this big single nut. It was a good idea, but it can be a little tricky to reinstall it. You want to make sure, yeah, you start it with the wrench like this, that there's no resistance when you're threading it on. If there's any resistance at all, you're cross threading it. And if you cross thread it, you're going to change the water pump, because this thread's right on the front of the water pump. I think we've got it here. Let's see. Nope. I feel like I could do this 100 times, guys, with no problem. And just every once in a while, it's a total freaking pain in the ass. Okay, so we got it started. Once you get it started, you're just going to spin it on. Do not over tighten this thing. You're just going to screw yourself, or whoever has to take it apart next. Without putting another wrench on it, you're just going to want to push it to the left a little bit till the belt slips and leave it. That's going to automatically tighten itself up. Okay, so what you're going to do next, you want to make sure that these bottom hoses for this can are not touching the AC compressor pulley. You got to get your hand down there, you got to push it around a little bit, and you got to try to get this thing seated in here correctly without breaking shit off of it. Just like that. Okay, so once you have it seated in there correctly, we're going to get your little piece up here, you're going to push back and center it up about right there. You're going to snap that back in there, it's going to lock it in place. So at that point in time, I'll leave the screw out for right now. We're going to have to fill it anyway. And so we need to make sure we do have one line that's hitting the pump and not the AC compressor. So get your hand down there and slip it over there, get it out of the way, and you don't know what I'm talking about that right there. You can see the AC compressor, which is right there. You don't want those lines hitting that compressor. You're going to be well out of the way of that. What that's going to do if that hits it, it's going to rip a hole in your line. You have a coolant leak, probably going to be on the interstate, and you're going to blow up. Okay, so next is going to be the fill procedure. We're going to start off with popped her shroud out of place. That's all right. We'll go and get that fitted back up. Okay. So we need to go and put the snaps in here. This car was actually missing them, so I need to find some for that. We're going to start off the fill procedure by taking this bleeder screw out, taking this bleeder screw out, and we're going to fill it with the car off first. Okay. There's that guy. We're going to start off, put some water in it. What we're going to want to do here, we're going to want to fill it until it starts coming out of the bleeder screw over here. Alright. Have enough water right here for this or not? Should have. We didn't lose that much. Okay, and we're going to go ahead and put some concentrate antifreeze in it. And I always use the green stuff. Some people don't like that, but just kind of tough. So we can see we already filled it that far. We can see the water coming up here. Now guys, the problem before was, and make sure you're still running here. Yep. The problem before was the old thermostat, when you went to fill it, it's like you could never get it to come out over here. I noticed right away that this one's coming out the fill port. So apparently there was a problem with the other one. We'll keep on filling. We can see that hole filling up, and it's getting up to the top. We're going to go ahead and put the plug in it. Like that. And no matter how much you try to get this full the first time, you're not going to do it. You're always going to have to add to it later. So we're going to go ahead and finish topping this off until it starts coming out the bleed screw here by the coolant cap. Okay, we're going to go ahead and put this plug in. You don't go crazy tight with it. You could actually buy these screws in aluminum or brass. Okay, so now what we're going to do, we're going to go inside the car. We're going to turn the key on, and I'm going to show you what it's going to do. Okay, so we're going to turn the key on. Now, this is very important, guys. Before you turn the key on and turn the heater on, you must have this bleed screw and you must have this bleed screw in. If you don't, it's going to geyser out those holes. We're going to go inside the car. We're going to turn the key on only. We're going to turn the heater on max, and it's going to suck this coolant down. Okay, so we can hear it circulating. Let me bring you in here and show you. And you can see it running out, right? So I don't think we need to add any more to it at this point. We'll go ahead and leave it. It didn't suck it down as much as I thought. We didn't have the heater core and everything all drained on this car. We didn't have the block drained. So if you do that, if you drain everything out, it'll pull this down a lot. You have to add a lot to it. In this case, that's not the case. Okay, so I just started the car. And you notice it's slowly pushing over, right? So we're going to put the cap on it. I should have put it on a little bit sooner, but what are you going to do? All right, tighten that up. Not crazy, but it's got to be tight enough where it doesn't leak. At this point in time, I'm going to go ahead and pull anything off the engine that's going to fall down in it. We're going to let it run. We're going to let it heat up, and They let it get up the temperature, turn it back off, let it cool down. We need to check the coolant again. It'll be a little bit more low. You don't want to fill the bottle all the way up. You know, you want to leave it to where it's probably, I don't know, 3 inches from the top is about the happy medium. Alright guys, here we are up and running. We got the catch can on it. We took the can off Sylvester's car. We already got another one coming, so that's not a big deal. The car did start without rough idling. My theory is that this thing only gets driven every once in a while. With a single hose conversion, it's probably getting condensation and crap in the ICV valve. So we're gonna let it keep warming up. We're not dripping nothing. Everything is looking really good. Let it warm up. We'll go ahead and take it for a drive, put it through the paces, make sure a valve cover drip is taken care of, make sure there's nothing else funky going on, and just kind of generally see how it's going to do. For the worst case, we might have to pull ICV off and spray it out. So we'll keep eye on the scanner and we'll cold start it again before we give it back to them and make sure it's all good. So anyway, hope you guys enjoyed the video today. For a lot of you guys that are doing this in E39, this is a lot more difficult. Doing it on the E46 is a lot easier. You don't have this funky fan shroud and all that crap to deal with. That's it guys, have a good day.